All right, so this is the Greensburg in Kansas. I think this is one that people have been wanting me to watch, so we're gonna watch it.
Sirens begin to scream across a small town in rural Kansas as Kelsey Schroeth is at home taking care of her baby. With nowhere else to go, Kelsey runs to an interior closet as her ears begin to pop and a thunderous roar grows louder and louder. A massive tornado, wider than the town itself, is just moments away.
Wider?
It's peak tornado season in the Great Plains, and forecasters at the Storm Prediction Center are monitoring the atmosphere, looking for the key ingredients needed for severe weather when something alarming catches their attention. A massive trough of low pressure is moving across the western United States, bringing with it a belt of fast-moving, cooler air aloft and pulling in massive amounts of warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. At the same time, the fast southwesterly winds of the trough begin to drag along a layer of warm, dry air emanating out of the desert southwest called the Elevated Mix Layer, or EML, separating the warm, moist air from the cool, dry air aloft, stopping storms from firing too early in the day and creating an extremely unstable atmosphere. The combination of large amounts of both atmospheric instability and strong wind shear from the approaching trough are creating ideal conditions for the formation of rotating thunderstorms called supercells. Recognizing that all the ingredients for severe thunderstorms are now in place, the Storm Prediction Center issues a moderate risk for severe weather, including a 15% outlook for strong tornadoes.
That's high.
Just before 5 p.m., the capping inversion generated by the elevated mix layer breaks, and a lone supercell thunderstorm initiates off the dry line along the Texas-Oklahoma border. Within just an hour, this powerful storm goes tornado warned and produces a tornado just outside the small town of Arnett, Oklahoma.
Ooh.
Remaining over rural areas, this small but powerful tornado carves a 4-mile path of destruction, destroying numerous trees and lightly damaging a couple farmsteads before dissipating just outside of town. For several hours, storms would struggle to develop in the highly capped atmosphere, slowly dying out as they drifted across the open fields. It appeared the residents of the Central Plains had just dodged a bullet, avoiding a significant outbreak of intense tornadoes through populated areas. However, things were about to take a dramatic turn. Before we get into the rest of the action, I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of this video.
That would be a good time to pause right now. Have I seen tornadoes IRL? I haven't seen one, but I've been fairly close to some. Like the one that went over my college campus when I still had to go to class. I don't think it ever came down, but it definitely did a lot of damage in places. Still remember that. Being out in the hallway and looking out the window and the trees are swish-swashing, and the teacher's like, I'm going to close the door now so you can't see that, so you can't be more scared. Yeah, thanks for making me come to this old building for class. I walked here. Literally, I sat in the classroom for 5 minutes, and now there's a tornado. Thank you.
Vessi.
Hi,
Chasing
Vessi.
storms and making these videos takes an enormous amount of time and effort, but one thing I do to help simplify my life are my Vessi weekend sneakers.
The sneakers!
These high-quality shoes slip on in seconds and are perfect for me as a storm chaser because they are completely waterproof and super easy to clean.
Shoot, I may get some of those because if it's raining a lot, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put tennis shoes on. I'm going to check my mailbox. The slightest bit of water that gets in there and it soaks my sock, I get so mad. I'm like, oh, no, in my shoe. And I have to dry out the shoe and all that stuff. I don't know. I may look into these.
Making them my go-to shoe
You
no
love
matter
them?
what the weather throws at me. Not only are the Vessi weekends completely waterproof, but they stay comfortable all day
I wonder how the
and
bottom
look
is.
fantastic as well.
Like walking
Especially
shoes?
paired with Vessi's super soft and moisture-wicking socks, fitting in with any outfit and in any setting, whether I'm right next to a tornado or just wanting to enjoy the beautiful fall air at the park. If you want to simplify
hiding in
your
a ditch,
life
do not
and
hide
upgrade
under
your
a
fall
bridge.
style, use the link in the description to get 15% off your pair of Vessis today.
Oh, nice. Sure, I may have to look into that.
As the sun begins to set on May 4th, a powerful stream of fast-moving winds called the low-level jet begins to rush north, greatly increasing both directional wind shear and storm relative inflow. crucial ingredients in the formation of powerful tornadoes. If a storm could take advantage of such a volatile environment, tornadoes of both unimaginable size and power could develop. The residents of the Central Plains have no idea they are about to be at the center of a major disaster.
Hey, so, hi,
At
hi.
6:30 p.m., a new cluster of storms explodes over northwest Oklahoma, slowly merging together and gaining strength as they organize into a single, powerful supercell thunderstorm, getting stronger and stronger with every minute that passes. The first tornado began in a field just to the northwest of Ashland, Kansas, remaining over rural areas and causing only weak damage to trees and rural structures before spawning 3 other weak tornadoes, all tracking through rural areas as they drift towards the northeast.
It's crazy. They're going
Yet
north
as these tornadoes begin to lift,
straight.
the parent supercell begins to rapidly intensify, carving out a new powerful rotating updraft called a mesocyclone, and at 9 p.m., produces one of the most infamous tornadoes in American history.
Yeah, one of the paths went west, which is kind of
Beginning
odd, I feel
just
like.
to the south of County Line Road, the newly formed tornado rapidly expands as it moves towards the northeast, bringing down patches of trees and damaging an oil tank, scattering the highly flammable oil all over the nearby areas. It's at this moment that multiple storm chasers driving along Highway 183 begin to record the tornado for the first time as it passes through the rural areas northwest of the highway.
Oof.
One of these chasers, Mike Scantlin, takes a photo, revealing the monster tornado looming in the distance. As the chasers continue to film, however, something remarkable begins to happen. Multiple smaller funnels begin to descend to the ground around the parent circulation in a hellish dance as they orbit around the monster tornado.
Satellite?
These rare, smaller vortices are called satellites, something
learning.
only seen
Hey,
in the most
secret
violent
eye.
tornadoes on Earth.
They go that wide?
Continuing to
That's
track
crazy.
to the northeast, the rapidly widening tornado begins to encounter many rural structures, damaging or completely destroying anything unlucky enough to be caught in its path. Homes, barns, trees, and power lines alike all disintegrate in the face of the violent winds as the tornado swells to an unbelievable 1.7 miles wide, one of the largest tornadoes in recorded history. Following
scary
just
passing
5
over being
miles south
that
of the
wide.
tornado, the line of storm chasers driving along Highway 183 cannot believe what they are seeing.
Yeah, with the flashing lights from the lightning, you can only see one side because it's so wide.
The chasers watch in horror as a massive wedge fills the horizon, illuminated by flashes of lightning.
Oh, there we go. That's
A
better.
monster tornado, masked in darkness, is heading directly for the small town of Greensburg, Kansas. With it now clear a large and violent tornado will pass dangerously close to town, the National Weather Service realizes the direness of the situation and at 9:41 p.m. issues an extremely rare tornado emergency. For a brief moment, it appears that the tornado may narrowly miss Greensburg to the east. However, it's at this moment that something tragic occurs. As the tornado moves slowly to the north,
Conditions are right. The sirens blare a bit after one forms. They just blare. Just blare. Just not. Just. Oh. It's scary, but I mean, it needs to be done, obviously, to warn people.
northeast, the parent supercell begins to cycle, cutting the tornado off from the storm's warm, moist inflow in a process called an occlusion, pushing the tornado into a more northerly course straight towards town. The residents of Greensburg have just minutes to prepare. At the same time the occlusion process begins to take over, the tornado begins to shrink in size but dramatically increases in intensity, obliterating several rural homes and scouring the ground, leaving a visible scar in the surface as it crawls to the north. 1 mile to the northeast, Dennis McKinney, deeply concerned about his neighbors Kelsey Schroth and her baby Jaden, runs to the back porch of his home and begins to shout out for them to get into his basement.
Oh, no.
Kelsey tries to get out of her home, but with the winds of the approaching tornado only growing stronger, she is unable to open the door and get outside and is forced to ride out the tornado in her home without a basement. Outside, Dennis waits until the last possible second as debris begins to fill the air and the deafening roar of the tornado drowns out
He waited until debris started falling. Shoot, that man's a brave, brave man. Shoot.
all other sound before running back into his basement. The fate of Kelsey and the
tried.
baby outside of his control. Both homes, along with a dozen others, are completely destroyed, with many of the foundations completely swept clean of debris. By some miracle, however, both Kelsey and her baby are found alive and unharmed in the shattered remains of their home.
Oh my gosh, good.
Continuing to deeply scour the ground, the tornado begins
Midwest
to enter the
attitude.
main part of Greensburg, flattening dozens of homes and a church as it closes in on the homes of Evelyn Kelly and Larry Hoskins.
Just going back to the baby thing, can you imagine that man's emotions, first of all, him trying to help her and the baby, can't get a hold of them. The tornado's right there, and now he has to run back downstairs hoping and praying that they're going to be okay. Him and his family, as well as the neighbors, and that he probably wished, man, I should have actually ran into the house and grabbed them. I wish I've done that. I wish I've done that. But then imagine them seeing each other alive and well. Just a huge relief over their shoulders, you know? Oh my goodness. How much longer do you plan on staying alive? I have no idea. As long as I can. As long as I can. But man, the woman and her baby. I can't imagine how scared she was. Oh, especially not having a basement. And she tried to get out too, but of course, with the winds going, she probably couldn't physically actually open the door.
Despite having over 20 minutes of warning, both residents fail to take proper shelter in time and are killed as their homes disintegrate around them.
No.
Seemingly at peace with her life, Evelyn stated before the tornado struck, "If God wants to take me, he will."
Oh.
Destroying more and more power lines, the town is plunged into darkness as the tornado tears everything in its path to shreds. Panicked residents scramble underground or to whatever shelter they can find in the few seconds they have left. Homes, trees, buildings, churches, even an entire elementary school are completely obliterated as the tornado's core closes in on the center of town. Just ahead along West Garfield Avenue, Beverly Voles, along with her father and husband, are sheltering in their home as the tornado strikes. Gathered together to celebrate Beverly's recent victory over her breast cancer, the three dive into the home's hallway as the structure begins to come apart around them when a piece of sheet metal flies through the hallway, striking both Beverly and her father. The two are fatally injured, sadly killing both of them on a day meant to celebrate such a happy moment in their lives.
That's just upsetting. Oh my gosh. Shoot, winning, beating cancer, breast cancer, and then that. Oh my God. Oh,
Becoming more and more loaded with debris, the tornado rips into another row of homes, obliterating dozens of structures and sweeping several of them completely off their foundations before crashing into the Greensburg High School. Numerous vehicles fly through the air, becoming unrecognizable balls of metal as the remorseless winds batter the school. Unable to withstand the violent power of the tornado, the entire school is ripped to pieces, leaving little remaining just weeks before graduation was supposed to take place. Just across the block along South Main Street, Megan Gardner, along with the rest of her family, are sheltering in their basement as the tornado begins to pass overhead. An eerie silence is suddenly broken as their ears begin to pop from the rapidly dropping pressure, while the unmistakable roar of the tornado becomes louder and louder. With everyone trapped in the basement, the entire house above them is violently ripped to pieces, leaving nothing behind but the debris-filled basement they were sheltering in, saving their lives. Their neighbors, however, would not be so fortunate.
that's why I'm glad the lady and her
Directly
baby
south of
survived.
the family's home, Harold Schmidt and his wife are sheltering in their basement when the tornado strikes. Despite doing everything right and taking proper shelter in their basement, a truck, picked up by the ferocious winds of the tornado, suddenly lands directly onto the couple's home. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time, Harold is crushed as the truck crashes through the home into the basement below. Fatally injured, Harold would use his final moments to try to comfort his wife before sadly passing away from his injuries. Swallowing
And I guess I'm a really emotional being because I always feel like I put myself in the shoes of people involved and just seeing, your significant other with a truck coming through the house and hitting them while the tornado is still going above, is still going on and saying goodbye there. Just, oh. Anyway,
all
continue.
of Greensburg within its grip, the incredible violence of the tornado's core crashes into the heart of town, inflicting destruction so widespread it seems inconceivable. Hundreds of trees are completely debarked and denuded, as every single building from residential homes to large commercial structures is completely destroyed by the remorseless winds, granulating the remains into tiny fragments.
Hi, Yari. Welcome
Entire
in.
city blocks of homes and buildings disintegrate as their debris fills the air, turning anything above ground into a sandpapered husk of what it had once been. Just across West Iowa Avenue, the town's water tower, along with the Big Well Museum, the site of the largest hand-dug well in the world, are completely destroyed, scattering the fragments long distances downstream and leaving a disfigured skeleton of metal where the water tower had once stood.
Yeah, true, Tristan. At least they were able to say goodbye, in an awful way, but at least they were able to say bye.
5 more people would tragically lose their lives in this area who weren't able to reach proper shelter in time. One of these residents, Cloud Hopkins, was caught running to his vehicle in an attempt to escape the tornado when he was picked up and thrown over 100 yards away, sadly killing him on impact. Cloud was 79 years old at the time and was described as a hard-working man who loved to hunt and fish, living in Greensburg all his life. Crossing US Route 400, the tornado reaches the northern edge of Greensburg and continues to cause catastrophic damage to anything unlucky enough to be in its path. An entire farm equipment dealership, a hospital, hundreds of homes, and a church are completely destroyed and granulated into pieces, scattering their fragments hundreds of yards downstream as the tornado closes in on a group of mobile homes. Sheltering inside one of these mobile homes, David Lyon is sucked up into the tornado and tragically killed, his body landing over 100 yards away into a nearby lake before the tornado finally exits town, leaving behind a hellish landscape of destruction and claiming the lives of 12 people. The tornado finishes its occlusion process and finally dissipates in a field just to the northwest of town after being on the ground for over an hour.
And thank goodness it didn't cross back over. Look how if that's, I'm pretty sure they did research for the actual sizing of everything. He was not kidding. That's an entire town that just got impacted. And for it to curl back up, almost taunting this area again. It looks like there's nothing there, though, at least. It looks like there's something there, though, that, unfortunately, I don't know. But yeah, at least that's an open space if it were to cross over again, it looks like. But, the whole town. Or neighborhood, or I'm not sure if it's a neighborhood or what. I don't even know anymore. Too many people in the same area that all got hit.
In less than 4 minutes, 95% of Greensburg had been damaged or destroyed. The storm, however, was far from finished. Immediately following the Greensburg tornado, the parent supercell, supercharged by the powerful, low-level jet, continues to cycle, putting down another monster tornado at 10:03 p.m. just to the northeast of Greensburg. Traveling through the mostly rural terrain, this violent tornado rapidly grows in both size and intensity, growing even larger than the tornado that struck Greensburg as it destroys several rural farmsteads before reaching its maximum width of 2.25 miles wide. Widely speculated as being even stronger than the tornado that preceded it, the monster Truesdale tornado would go down as the second widest tornado in recorded history at the time. Continuing to rage through the night, the parent supercell goes on to produce an additional 9 tornadoes over the next several hours, including 2 more violent, mile-wide wedges near the towns of Hopewell and Maxville, claiming the lives of 2 more people before finally dissipating over 8 hours after formation. Back in Greensburg, however,
Like the houses in the USA is built with wood and paper ain't one of the problems. No, it's not. It's not that. I mean, there's some that with siding and everything, I guess you can consider that wood and paper, but we've seen tornadoes with actual houses of cinder block with the metal rods in it, with concrete inside of it, be ripped. So the power of these tornadoes is so strong, it's ripping apart probably the toughest things that you could possibly put together. So houses, well, not all of them, not all of them are well built, but I mean, for the most part, like even brick, mortar, like all that heavy duty stuff, it's still getting ripped apart, shredded apart. The thing is taking the concrete foundations off of their, yeah, yeah, no, and it's okay. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, Americans' houses are suck, and we're like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. So always just try to make that clear. But it's fine. It's completely fine. Oh, yeah, we saw what that storm did to a giant steel water tower too. Yeah, and from that one storm, y'all remind me of the one where it picked up the Ford Explorer and threw it at the top of the water tower. Well, which is crazy, crazy, crazy. Like just that intense in strength.
the scene was nothing short of apocalyptic. 95% of the town was damaged or destroyed, and 12 people lost their lives, leaving behind an unrecognizable landscape that was once their town. In the days following the tornado, surveyors and meteorologists from the National Weather Service would survey the damage and assign the tornado a rating of EF5, the first in history since the implementation of the enhanced Fujita scale earlier that year. In the years since the tornado, Greensburg has made substantial efforts in rebuilding itself, with many new, energy-efficient, and tornado-resistant structures going up across town to replace what was lost. However, despite the noble efforts of the town's residents to rebuild, the empty lots and debarked trees will continue to serve as a dark reminder of the tragic past of this small town in rural Kansas.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, again, I never experienced an actual tornado, but the one that came close to my parents. Still, again, I know people may not see the previous videos, but just going home and driving around with my parents, just like look at all the damage that happened. I mean, I knew that neighborhood. Those were very, very well built houses, right? Like full brick, basements, all like everything, everything gone. I still remember looking at from the main road down a cul-de-sac, and I can just it looked like the building, like the main part of the house was gone, and just the roof was sitting on the ground. And yeah, it's terrifying. So just to see all that in person, it's just so surreal. So but that's why you got to be careful and take cover. That's why I say, when he said, oh, people only had like 2 minutes to prepare. That's why I always say, I'm going to keep repeating it because it's very important. Have a bag ready, have a medic bag, dedicate some, like an old pair of tennis shoes, dedicate those to your tornado bag. Water, make sure your phone's charged ahead of any severe weather warnings. Make sure your dogs have their harnesses on and get their leashes ready. That way, all you have to do is hook them. You don't have to worry about fighting them to put their harness on. And then get to your safe place. Have helmets at the ready. Have a little spot just with the safe stuff, Have a one spot dedicated. Yeah, it might be ridiculous. Yeah, you may never use it. But if it does happen, you're going to be thankful you have it there, ready to go. So, because a lot of things happen in the middle of the night, because all the bad storms usually, I guess most of them seem to happen at night, in the middle of the night when you can't see anything and you want to be asleep, so you're all groggy. So it's best to go ahead and have everything ready. So yeah, make sure you have not flip flops. Don't have any soft shoes, anything like that. And boots, preferable. You would definitely want something with thick sole in it because you're gonna be stepping over a lot of debris, and a lot of those are gonna have those giant nails in them. So you don't want to step on that. You know, it's a lower risk of stepping on those and going through your shoe, but but uh, that was sad. That was really sad. Ugh, man. I'm just so shocked that the lady and her child survived just being in the closet. I'm just shocked.